Disclaimer.
What does not belong in the fridge? Honey. It'll stay good at room temp for at least a couple thousand years. I'll believe it when they let me use the Egyptian honey on my peanut butter toast. I had an Egyptology class in college. The professor frequently said the number one rule of archaeology is never eat what you dig up, and he would follow it up with a fun story. Apparently, there were some grave robbers in the 1800s that were robbing a tomb. They found a sizable jar of honey in the tomb and set it aside. When lunch rolled around, one of the men brought out a loaf of bread and started dipping it in the honey. After a few slices, one of the men pulls a long black hair out of their mouth. They dug deeper into the honey and found a little girl's corpse. Apparently, honey was a cheap way of embalming small humans or animals. You can imagine we were all pretty grossed out. Not sure how true the story is, but it's fun all the same. When I die, preserve me in honey and spread me on toast. Pretty sure I read that there used to be a lot more mummies, but the British kept eating them. This story was in the book I just read last weekend. That story is so good. I had to tell my whole family about the gross honey. As former grave robber, I can tell you that we are not fazed by a hair of the dead fermented fetus. Goddamn millennials and their ancient Egyptian honey toast. It's why they can't afford homes. I mistook the period at the end of honey for a comma, and I thought you were saying, honey, it'll stay good at room temp for at least a couple thousand years. I was intrigued at what you were figuratively telling your so that would stay good at room temp for a couple thousand years until I realized that you were saying it's honey. I think I read somewhere that the only reason honey even has a printed expiration date is because at some point, the plastic bottle they come in will actually make the honey go bad. We're talking a really long time, but the point stands. That's why I keep it in a glass jar. Glass or nothing. I don't eat honey fast enough for it to not go bad in plastic. Glass doesn't have such weaknesses. What will stay good? And don't call me honey. Open ketchup is fine too, believe me. If it was a health and safety issue to not refrigerate, restaurants wouldn't just leave them out on the table. People would lose their minds if they knew that most ketchup bottles in restaurants aren't used until empty and thrown out and replaced accordingly. Most restaurants will just top them each off regularly. So there's definitely some ketchup in any typical restaurant bottle that's old as dirt. LOL. Marrying ketchup bottles is straight up against health code. While I don't doubt it still happens in some small operations, every restaurant I've ever worked at was adamant about it. Ketchup love is real love. Don't hate condiment. Tomatoes get a terrible mealy texture when left in the fridge. Leave them on the counter. This is 100% true. But they do last longer in the fridge. I bought 5 pounds of Roma tomato for a couple bucks, hell of a good deal, for use in homemade tomato sauces and salsa. They last weeks longer in the fridge than they would have on the counter. If I could have used them faster, I would have left them on the counter. But sometimes longevity is the goal. When I have more tomatoes than I can use, I blanch and freeze them. Usually as whole peeled tomatoes or crushed tomatoes. This is the level of adulthood I am striving for. I can't wait to get the hang of preserving my own foods and pass that down to my kids so they're not struggling like I've been as an adult. A few years back I worked for a recycling company on the south coast of England, and we had the contract to go to the tip sites and collect all the old fridges, and then when lorry was full we'd have to do a daily run up to EMR Recycling in London. Hard work lifting fridges all day, every day, in all sorts of weather. You learn very soon on starting to inspect every fridge before lifting, as some people don't bother to throw away old food and you lift it onto your shoulders to carry, and all this old smelly food would cover you, and that made the rest of the day very uncomfortable and made the lorry cabin stink. But occasionally there would be Tupperware containers with money and jewelry hidden in the freezer compartment. We had a couple lucky finds, but not enough to retire or quit working. Asked the owner of the company we worked for, and he used to say no thief will check a freezer, so it's the ideal hiding place for things. Free Tupperware? Damn. Now that's a job, W perks. Was hard work, lifting around 130 to 145 fridges onto the lorry and packing them like Tetris so they don't fall all over. Some fridges were easier to pick up than others, and we didn't have the luxury of time to use the rear lift, so just manual labor lifting then packing them. Worked in ice-cold winters and sweltering summers with snow and rain in between. The remote that I mindlessly left in there while getting a drink. And took 4 hours to find. And was only found because you wanted another drink while searching. Reminds me of when I lost my glasses as a kid, and we found it months later in the back of our freezer. Kids, man, I swear. I've got an audio tile attached to the remote because I will leave it in the most random places. Even though it looks trashy, I have mine velcroed to the wall. I lose it too much. Don't you have to remember to put it back there then? At which point, just remember to put it someone else consistently that isn't on a wall. I was so happy when I found the remote in the fridge. You should have seen the way my face lit up. Butter you plan to spread on toast. I always keep a stick in a butter dish on the counter, covered. Stays good for weeks. Never had butter go bad that way in my entire life. This should be higher up. Spreadable butter on the counter is a game changer. Margarine is a scam. Nutella, my in-laws are special people. Nah, refrigerated Nutella is legit. It converts your Nutella from a boring old spread into a solid chunk of chocolatey goodness. Nah, it turns rock solid, literally useless unless you are Picamander 2005. Bananas. I put bananas in the fridge when they start to get spots. The cold makes the skin go dark fast, but usually seems to keep the actual banana from getting overripe. I put them in the freezer when they get too brown and then use them to make banana bread. I put them in the freezer when they get too brown and then throw them out months later. It's a system based on hopes and dreams and not reality. Bananas, they rot faster when put in a fridge. Due to their preference for warm climates, bananas are not accustomed to cold temperatures. Exposure to cold temperatures can prevent the enzymes responsible for their ripening from functioning properly. Consequently, other enzymes become more active, which can lead to negative effects such as cellular damage and the darkening of the skin due to the activity of browning enzymes. Onions. Wait, onions really don't go in the fridge? Got a bag in the crisper right now. I need more info on this one. Don't they grow baby onions more faster? Those empty little organizers of things that come with them originally. Like the egg organizer. Who on earth uses that? My mom does. She takes the eggs out of the carton and places them in the plastic egg holder, then puts her backup carton of eggs underneath the holder. Suffice to say, she goes through a lot of eggs. We reuse a cardboard one since we usually get 2 dozen in a plastic container, and plastic doesn't cushion like cardboard. Hot sauce. I know there's some that say refrigerate after opening, but I've never done that and never gotten sick from it. That's because vinegar-based sauces are too acidic to grow anything. The ones that say refrigerate aren't as acidic and may be able to breed contamination. That makes sense. All the sauces I use are extremely hostile to life, myself included. You must be in an abusive relationship with yourself. You need to get a divorce from yourself and move on. Nah, I like to toil in Scoville hell. I have some ghost pepper jam you'd like, then, and my wife just got me Carolina Reaper beef jerky. Bread. As a single man, bread goes into the fridge. I can't eat the whole loaf before it goes bad if I leave it in the cupboards. Try sticking it in the freezer, works much better. Can thaw a couple slices out in just a few seconds in the microwave, or just use the defrost setting on a toaster if you want toast. Bread gets stale due to the starches crystallizing, and the ideal temp for that crystallization process is basically refrigerator temperature. The freezer will prevent both mold and the crystallization. 99% of bread applications are better when they are toasted. Can toast bread from frozen. If you have people coming over and you are making sandwiches, bread thaws incredibly fast. Like minutes. But it keeps for so much longer. Doesn't get moldy as fast, and I'm just going to toast it anyways. My parents buy bread in bulk and put it in the freezer. I always found this very strange. I've never done it myself. I swear to God, right? Do not put the goddamn butter in the fridge. No, it does not taste better. It's just harder to spread. Stop it. It doesn't taste better, but it does last longer. We buy it in a 4-stick pack, keep one on the counter in a butter dish, with lid, other 3 in the fridge, moving one to the dish when the warmer butter is nearly out. If you are here for the first time and you like the video, like it. Subscribe to support me and hit the bell so you don't miss new videos. You can also watch other videos by going to the channel. I will be pleased if you like them.